welcome to another year of the Paperless Conversation with your host, myself, Kalina Spooner. So to start off the new year with a bang, as we like to say, we're going to talk about the top manufacturing trends that are currently happening in 2022 and for the foreseeable future of the year. I've invited my colleague and content guru, Ben Baldwin, to chat alongside me today. So thank you, Ben, for coming.
Thank you. Content guru may be a bit much, but we try.
Yes, well, I know that you are the content marketing specialist here at VKS, so I thought you could quickly just kind of talk about yourself a little bit and the position that you have at VKS before we dive in.
Sure. So basically, a lot of what I do or what we do as a team for content is really create a bunch of content that will be useful to manufacturers or useful to people even outside of manufacturing and other industries, just to understand, as we're going to talk about, industry trends and anything really pertaining that could help people. And obviously that's what VKS is all about. We're all about empowering workers and helping companies. So any way we can do that, either through our software or otherwise, we're all buying that.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for kind of introducing, what you do and kind of how you help to educate the market and even, educate and help our customers as well. I know that a lot of the stuff that you've written over the years has, helped to either, inspire, even industry trends and stuff like that. So thank you so much. And I thought that we could start off today by talking about a piece that you wrote. So you actually wrote about kind of some of the top trends in manufacturing for 2022. So I thought that we could kind of dive into that today. We're not going to highlight everything, as we don't want to be a super lengthy podcast and not necessarily bore everyone, but kind of talk about the key takeaways from it. And we'll just kind of have a nice educational discussion.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, perfect. So let's currently dive in. So I wrote a short little blurb about it that I thought would kind of serenade us into the topic. So here we go. So one thing that I just quickly wanted to talk about before we kind of dive in is, as we're continuing to see and live, some of the restrictions surrounding COVID-19 are starting to ease, and a lot of manufacturing activities are starting to, rebound. There are, however, still a lot of significant challenges that are remaining. So some of those issues, as you do note in your article, are, supply chain issues, labor shortages, and the inevitable inflation. So kind of against this backdrop, manufacturers are continuously looking to switch gears as they're very determined to see what are the best ways to serve their customers in the years in the years ahead. So to stay one step ahead of the industry trends and keep pace with the competition, technology innovations has taken kind of a front seat, as we've noticed, not only last year, but now continuing this year. But manufacturers still have to remain agile and find ways to rapidly respond to the customer demand. So given all this information, there are 5 key manufacturing trends to watch out for, which we're going to discuss today. So the first one, which you wrote in the article, is new efforts to curb labor shortages. So I thought you could kind of dive in a little bit on that and just kind of take us through what are some of the new efforts to help curb that labor shortage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, labor shortages have kind of become a big trend in the past little bit. Obviously, there's a big statistic from Deloitte that people use all over the internet that by the year 2030, 2.1 million jobs are not going to be filled by the year 2030.
Wow.
And so that's like a big problem. And obviously, we have lots of people retiring. There's other statistics coming out that job tenure is not as long as it used to be, so people are often switching jobs. So really the biggest thing that manufacturers or anybody else are trying to work on right now is retaining those employees and keeping them in there while working for them. And so a lot of those things can just be in, we'll talk about this a little later, about like increasing the skills or providing more advancement in skills for the workforce, creating better work-life balances, and also improving worker recognition as well. So
Yeah.
there's a big like, culture shift that's going to be happening, especially with a lot of people working from home. That also has kind of provided a big culture shift that we all have to kind of work through now.
Yeah, 100%. And to add to that, I think too, another way to fight labor shortage, or not even necessarily to fight it, but a way to retain some of that knowledge is what we kind of call in the manufacturing industry, as you know, tribal knowledge. So, with a lot of people that are, like you said, retiring, that there are fewer younger people that are joining, the manufacturing sector. An important way that you could kind of continue to have that knowledge would be tribal knowledge, which would be to retain everything and kind of have that knowledge stored and saved. So that's a big word that I know you've used a lot, that we use a lot. And again, just, we do have to talk a little bit about VKS in our podcast. That's something that our software kind of takes pride on, is being able to store and retain that tribal knowledge and have your work instructions recorded, whether it's a text step, a picture step, or even a video of said employee who's been there for such a long time doing the steps and basically capturing and maintaining that. So when you do end up having, like you had mentioned, a lot of labor shortages, the staff that you do have, or the staff that you will continue to hire, will have that productivity level and efficiency level that the retirees left with. So that's kind of something that is important too with fighting the labor shortage.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, definitely like with the statistics I said before, with the average job tenure is only 5.1 years in manufacturing. Well, like if you can get all that tribal knowledge stored up, and then someone leaves, then the next person can start with using an application like VKS that kind of guides the workers through and gives them the best practices from the first day that they start. Well, then they can work there 5 years, let's say, and then by the time that they want to move on to something else, well, you've accumulated more tribal knowledge, and then always your knowledge just is compounding and compounding on top of each other, even through a high turnover potentially. So it's a really an invaluable tool.
Yeah, 100%. Being able, like you said, just to have an ability of providing your operators with, a skilled knowledge base is so important, because exactly to all the key points that you mentioned, especially with the high turnover rate and everything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was kind of like we talked about. It is inevitable. There are, like you mentioned, in manufacturing, people coming in, coming out, but there are different ways that you can kind of help, continue to have a very highly skilled labor force in your facility. And again, tribal knowledge and just new information is one aspect that you can kind of take that route.
Yeah.
So now, number 2 is investment in new skills for the workforce. So as we progress through this new decade, we are going to continuously see growing investments in training and education for the workforce. So again, like you mentioned in your article, that there are the manufacturing industry, not just specifically to manufacturing, but it's constantly evolving, and workers will need the appropriate skills. So I thought you could kind of quickly just talk a little bit about, that and the new skills for the workforce.
Yeah, for sure. So, sorry. Um, no, so as like more technologies are coming out, right? It's going to be there's more and more that workers have to learn. There's more and more that workers have to do and understand to be competent in those jobs because the manufacturing industry is just getting smarter and smarter. But so the way that you kind of deal with that is to make your employees smarter and smarter and give them more skills. If the two need to progress and evolve at the same rate. So this is just another thing that kind of helps with keeping workers as well, is that like in a poll, 69% of manufacturing employees said they, under the age of 25, said they would they stay with the current employer because the employer is offering training and development opportunities. So I think that is like a really strong indication that if you can guide workers, if you can give them more opportunities to learn and to advance themselves, then that's a key motivating factor that one keeps them within your company, but then also benefits the world as a whole because we're all training to meet the standards of the industry now.
Yeah, that's like you said, that's so true. Being able to again, not just your operators, but, staff upstairs or staff in different departments, just being able to, like you said, give them investment tools for training and retaining those employees is another way that you can kind of maybe help to fight, the labor shortage as well. So again, little VKS tidbit here. With the software actually, and a lot of our customers and our sister company, as you know, Ben, they do have a means of using the software for training. So when you have new hires come in, or when someone's, let's just say their certification or their documentation is, going to expire, you basically can have them do, the training and or educating them on the latest versions or the latest updates of what they would be doing day in and day out. And their supervisors and management can basically gain all that knowledge and see which employees have done the training and which ones haven't. So being able to use VKS not only for live production, but also in a test or a training mode is something else that a lot of our customers have utilized and can kind of help, again, with being able to provide their operators with advanced skills and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that brings up another point. It's like it's very powerful for strategic workforce management. Let's say, like you brought up the idea of you can see who's trained on what, and it's pretty easily, especially with VKS's certification feature. You can really kind of look at your roster when, let's say, your supervisor is making work orders for the day, and he can kind of be like, oh, okay, these people are trained here. Okay, we're in a big rush. I need my best employees over there doing it. Or, oh, we're not in so much of a rush, so why don't I get my best employees to train like the other employees on this complex job? Or you can get other people certified based on how your work is going, and it allows you to really augment your work management just to kind of best match the goals of the day, really.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think that, like you mentioned, the fact that VKS can provide that not only for, live production, but also, like you mentioned, about being able to train people. And I know that when you do have new hires, especially in the manufacturing realm, it's weeks upon weeks of them having to shadow someone on the shop floor and really focus their time. But being able to even create a small mock-up test center or a small assembly station that basically would allow your new hire operators to kind of go in there, fiddle around with the software, see what their jobs would be doing. And even some of the features that we have is being able to kind of implement a little quiz where they would have to fill out a questionnaire or, a pass fail. Did they, meet the standards of being able to be ready to go on the shop floor? So again, being able to cut time on training and just being able to provide that skill level to your operators, I think is a huge plus and a huge win for what VKS can provide.
Exactly.
So again, now we're kind of going to continue along with the, digital conversation, but topic number 3 is the need for a digital transformation. So something that you wrote that I kind of wanted to just quickly talk about is, you mentioned in the article that amid the industry shifts that are occurring over the course of 2020 and 2021, manufacturers, are seeing the fragility of their dependence on their experienced laborers. So specifically on that tribal knowledge within the workforce. So again, we talked a little bit about it beforehand, but I thought you could kind of talk about why now? Why is there such a need for digital transformation?
Yeah, like we had said about tribal knowledge, right? Is that like all companies have tribal knowledge. We all know we have we have people in our company that like know how to perform certain jobs. The worrisome thing is like when those people go away, what do you do, right? And so I have experience at other jobs where, we had these processes written down on paper, but the paper gets lost or it gets destroyed or something like that. So really, by digitally transforming your operations, there's not so much of a worry. If we have a good infrastructure in place that kind of tells people how to do things and it's easily accessible and we can gather data from it, then it's pretty amazing. It's like, wow, that tribal knowledge just became extremely accessible. And it's not about tribal knowledge being a bad thing. It's more about making tribal knowledge, getting the best out of your tribal knowledge.
Yeah, and to that point, To that point, I just wanted to quote you as well. You talked about how the digital transformation, it's not meant to replace workers. It's there to empower them and to usher in the next generation. So I think that that's a very important part, as I know a lot of customers that we've had conversations with, and or just the market as a whole, a lot of people are scared of technology and are scared of digital transformation, especially in the manufacturing realm, in the sense of, this is my father's company, I'm the fourth generation, or even in the HVAC industry, we've been doing this like this since, like 1922 or something like that. So what I mean to say is, a lot of times I find when you're talking about digital transformation or starting to get away from paper-based, a lot of people are hesitant because that, something has worked for so long, why change that? But like you mentioned, there are so many advantages to adopting that trend, right? So being able to, achieve a workforce flexibility, increase labor, just being able to provide your operators with skill. But I think too, one of the most important things is having that traceability of what goes on during a day, right? Like being able to see what your operators are doing, how many units have they completed, are we going to finish on time, are we not going to finish on time, what part of the production line are we at? So just being able to have that visibility, which without digital transformation, you would not necessarily have that until the finished product was done, and you would kind of have to backtrack and track your steps.
Exactly. No, and this digital transformation really just kind of makes communication super easy. You're making it so that, like you're talking about, you can measure KPIs in the system, and pretty much your operation in a lot of ways can talk to you, can kind of give you information on what's going on. And then adding to that, your workers who are performing the work can also provide feedback in a simple way, just through digital means or through the application. Like that also is just an invaluable tool, and it's really great to boost labor resiliency and communication.
Yeah. So to kind of continue along that this path of digital transformation, we're going to go to, I believe, the fourth topic, which is very much related to what we've been talking about, is, as we like to call it, especially at VKS, is the connected worker. So this is essentially, again, you're providing your workers the ability to capture key manufacturing data in real time and collaborate with systems and people as a unified team, and not just as a subset within a larger set of production. So like you mentioned in your article, again, I keep quoting you, so I hope you don't mind.
No
You
worries,
talk
no
about
worries.
how the connected worker technology fosters information sharing, making connections between people's tools and computers even stronger. So I thought maybe you could talk quickly about one of the quotes that you brought up about the connected worker and kind of what that talks about there.
Yeah, well, I mean, the connected, like we were talking about, really creating these avenues of communication and connection. Um, but this is just something that the industry is moving to, and it will need to move. Like more and more manufacturers will need to move in this direction, because if you're not able to communicate with your workers, or you're not able to communicate with your system and your operation, as well as others, I mean, you've kind of lost your competitive edge. So this is where the industry is going for sure. And I think it's also just a way that people are going. Like one of the statistics we threw in here was that like 96% of Americans aged 18 to 29 own a smartphone. So we're all very much used to using technology on a daily basis, all throughout the day, and so we should be using that to our advantage. Not necessarily using a smartphone to our advantage, but using this new capability that obviously the younger generation is using a lot, to kind of boost how well we are connected within our work and how well we're communicating.
Yeah, 100%. And to add to that, one of the features in VKS is the ability to send a message from your assembly station. So again, I know to some it might seem, oh, it's not that important, but when you look at the larger scale of, some of our larger customers, kind of having an operator stop his section of a production because he needs to speak to the supervisor, or he needs to talk to a quality manager, or he has a recommendation for something, him stopping leaving his station, trying to find whoever he needs to within a department, again, puts that entire line of production at a halt, and they might not reach their end goal for the day. Or if he's part of the production line, then now, he can't move his piece of assembly over to the next department. So having that feature in VKS, which is being able to send a message directly from your station, again, just cuts the time for that operator leaving his station, being able to communicate live directly, being able to take a picture of even what he needs to talk or send, just being able, like you said, to have that ability to digitally connect and communicate with everyone on the shop floor is a huge win, I think, for kind of, just being able to drive that in the market as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, not to plug my own content, but we have a blog article up on our blog about smart forms specifically, and that's just a great avenue for people to, during work you have a non-conformance form, send it, and immediately your supervisor or the right person is notified of what's going on, or like if there's any problem or success, really, you can kind of immediately put that in there and say what quantity's done, like you were saying. But it's amazing to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it's amazing that we're able to share this information, I think, too, like the fact that again, I don't mean to plug VKS, but, it's an amazing company. And I think the fact that we are continuously able to write informative educational pieces, not only about VKS, but just in general about where the trends are coming from, what to look out for, and being able to educate the market. I think that's a huge achievement on our end, but also on VKS's end as well. So yeah. So again, enough about VKS. Just give us a moment. No, I'm joking. But I thought we could kind of talk about the last point, which is point number 5, which is big data equals smarter companies. So again, we've talked about, just moving towards digital transformation, getting a connected workforce, and companies, they're not only investing in new technologies that'll boost productivity, but manufacturing companies are also going to become smarter because of that. So I thought you could talk a little bit about, what does big data provide? What is, when people think of big data, what could be some of the takeaways they could take from that?
Well, big data is kind of big data is a big term. Yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot of things that can kind of go under it, but really it's about gathering information that helps you. I mean, like we say that knowledge is power, and I think definitely within big data that couldn't be more true. Because really you're just gaining insight into your operation, and even further, what's great about this is that, like, if you have a digital ecosystem that you're connected with your supply chain, well, then you guys are sharing that information really in real time, so you can really work things out, and I guess the best word would be, like, really adjust your production based on what information is coming out. And so it allows you to be flexible to the market. Oh, the market's changing. Okay, well, we can kind of do this. Or, oh, we're having some problems with our shipments coming in. Okay, well, we'll need to kind of adjust, and it just gives you much more strength and a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, I think that's true. And like you had mentioned, just being able to capture, that key critical data is so important, because different departments can look at that data, and like you mentioned, it can either, look at productivity. You can look at how your operators are functioning. Why is one operator producing, let's just say 15 units every hour, yet the other operator is only producing, let's just say 12? What's going on there? Like you mentioned, just being able to have that insight and that knowledge at the end of the day will only continue to enhance your product as well as your overall productivity. I think that's kind of it. We highlighted a lot around the connected workforce, and I think that is one of the main takeaways of the trends that are kind of coming. I don't want to say that they're coming, because I think that the connected workers, we like to call it, has been something that has been underway for a very large amount of time. I would say the last, maybe 10 years, kind of since VKS started out in about 2011, that was kind of where the connected worker and being able, like you mentioned, to have different lines of communication with smart tools, with smart equipment, having your entire, shop floor being able to communicate and push and pull data back and forth from one another. I think that is something that is just going to continue to grow with IIoT, Industry 4.0, and I think another thing that you talked about, which was very important in the article, is that we shouldn't be scared of, digital transformation. It's not going to remove the workforce. It's not going to take it. If anything, it's going to just be able to enhance it and make sure that your operators that are on the shop floor working day in and day out have the best skills and training to, at the end of the day, create the best product out there for you, for the market.
Exactly. Every new innovation or every new industrial revolution has really led to more progress and better quality products, better quality for the workers. Really like that. And also just one quick thing on the connected workforce too. It's like the capabilities of having smart tools and being like really workers being integrated into their work setting so that their system, their tools, and their colleagues and themselves all work as one cohesive team. And that's kind of what this new industry and what VKS is all about.
Yeah, exactly. Just like you mentioned, having that line of communication open and just getting everything kind of simultaneously working together will just continue to expand and grow. So I wanted to thank you, Ben, so much for coming on today.
No problem.
It's been super fun. You are the content guru. I don't care what you say. So what I'm going to do is at the end of the podcast, I'm going to add a link if you'd be interested to read the article that Ben wrote about the manufacturing trends for 2022. Again, he'll go in a little bit more detail. He'll also add some within the article. There's other links to other publications that we've done on our blog. And again, I'm going to also add a link for VKS's blog. You guys can always subscribe to it. The team is constantly pushing out new content, new marketing, and it's pretty cool. So again, it's not just plugging VKS, but it's also educating everyone on what's going on right now in the manufacturing industry. So again, Benjamin, thank you very much. I will hopefully be able to see you soon in the office when we get to kind of go back to normalcy. But in the meantime, enjoy your new house and your new office.
Thank you.
And for everyone watching, thank you very much for listening. I hope that 2022 is starting off great for everyone. And that's it. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Paperless Conversation. Keep an eye out for the next episode. Thanks, everyone.